It's quiet now. The rest of the world has gone to sleep. But you haven't. You're lying there, still, but your mind isn't. It's racing back through almost every opportunity you touched and then turned away from. The interview you skipped. The partner you pushed away. The creative project you ghosted right when it started getting good. Why? Why do you do that? You fight. You sweat. You get close. So close. But then something inside you folds. You don't show up. You mess it up. You walk away. And you tell yourself stories like, I guess it wasn't meant to be. I wasn't ready. I'm just lazy. But those are just the bandages. Tonight, we go deeper. Because what if the problem isn't that you're lazy or broken? What if part of you is just scared? What if success threatens something buried so deep in your subconscious it would rather burn the bridge than walk across it? This is self-sabotage, and it doesn't mean you're weak. It means you've been trying to stay safe in a world that taught you that success comes with danger. So let's walk back through the hallway of your mind. Let's find the saboteur hiding in your shadow, and let's ask it why. It always starts the same way. An idea strikes, a spark. You feel excited, motivated. This time you think, I am doing it. You plan, you prep, you start strong. But for a while, it does work until something starts to shift. It's subtle at first. You lose focus. You tell yourself you're tired. A day off turns into two. A small mistake becomes a reason to quit. That voice creeps in. Who do you think you are? You'll never pull this off. They're going to see through you. And before you know it, the project's abandoned. The call never happens. The diet crashes. The relationship fades. But this isn't a one-time thing. If you zoom out and look at your life like a timeline, you'll see the pattern. Initiate, excite, panic, abandon, repeat. It's like there's an invisible tripwire you hit every time you get too close to something better. We call it procrastination, perfectionism, laziness. But all of those are masks for something deeper. Fear. You're not just afraid of failing. You're afraid of succeeding and what comes with it. Let's go deeper. Your brain wasn't designed for dreams. It was designed for survival. Thousands of years ago, success didn't mean peace. It meant being seen, exposed, vulnerable. And to your primitive brain, those things meant death. The part of your brain that governs us, your amygdala, doesn't care about your goals. It only cares about safety. When you start moving towards something unfamiliar, more money, more visibility, more connection, Your amygdala doesn't celebrate, it panics, it whispers. This is different. Different is dangerous. Go back to what we know. That's why the second things get good. You feel a strange anxiety. It's your system trying to restore what it knows. Chaos, struggle, smallness. So you eat when you don't want to. You skip the gym. You ghost the person who saw too much. And you call it self-control failure. But really, it's your nervous system trying to protect you from the unknown. We think we crave success. But unless we train the mind to feel with success, we will destroy it every single time. That's not weakness, that's biology. And we are not just biology, we are story too. Here's a question that might sting. What do we get out of failing? Not consciously, of course, but on a deeper level. What does failure protect you from? Maybe when you don't succeed, you don't have to be seen. You don't have to risk being judged. You don't have to deal with people expecting more of you. Maybe when you lose, you get comfort. People feel sorry for you. They rally around you. They lower the bar. That's called secondary gain. It's a hidden reward that keeps the self-sabotage cycle spinning. Think of it like this. If you touch a hot stove and feel pain, you learn not to touch it again. But if you touch a metaphorical stuff like failing a job interview and people comfort you, or you get to avoid pressure, or you feel relief, your brain subtly rewards that failure. Now, that doesn't mean you want to fail. It means failure feels more familiar and safer than success. This creates a push-pull inside you. One part wants to win. The other part is terrified of what happens if you win. And that tug of war, that's what keeps you stuck. So ask yourself, what hidden benefit have I been getting from not succeeding? No judgment, just awareness. Because you can't change what you don't face. To really understand self-sabotage, you have to go back. Back to the age of 5, maybe 6, when your brain was a sponge and soaking up the messages about who you are and what you're allowed to have. Let's say you grew up in a home where you were only praised when you struggled. Winning made your siblings jealous, so you learned to dim yourself. A parent mocked people who made money or confidence. You were taught not to outshine, not to speak too loud, not to want too much. Those moments didn't feel traumatic, but they wrote your internal script. And today, decades later, you're still acting from that script. So even though adult you says that I want love, I want success, I want peace, your inner child is whispering, it's not safe, we'll get in trouble, we'll be abandoned, we'll be punished. And that whisper, it still controls you. This is why success feels wrong to so many people. Why, when things go well, you get anxious? Why, when someone loves you, you feel the urge to push them away? Why, when you start making money, you suddenly overspend or lose interest? It's not because you're broken. It's because your subconscious thinks you're breaking the rules you grew up with. But here's the truth: you didn't write those rules, they were given to you. And now it's time to rewrite them. Success doesn't change your life, it changes your identity. And that, more than anything, can terrify the part of you that craves certainty. If you've spent most of your life as the struggler, or the outsider, or the underdog, then what happens when you finally win? Who are you now? This is called identity collapse, and it's one of the biggest triggers for self sabotage. Because deep down, part of you thinks, if I change too much, I'll lose the people I love. If I succeed, they'll think I have changed. If I'm happy, they'll resent me. Or maybe even if I become successful, I won't recognize myself anymore. We stay in pain not because we like it, but because we've built an identity around it. If you've been the one who never gives up your whole life, then quitting is hard. But so is winning. Because once you're won, who are you fighting now? Sometimes we sabotage success just to stay in a familiar role. Because identity gives us stability. And without it, we feel lost. But here's the good news: identities aren't cages, they are costumes. You can change them, you can evolve. The goal isn't to stay who you've always been, the goal is to become who you were always meant to be. Imagine this: you walk into a stage, bright lights, full audience, you're about to share your truth. Your palms sweat, your throat tightens, your brain screams, "Get off the stage!" Why? Because being seen, truly seen, is one of the most terrifying things for the human psyche, especially if you were ever mocked, misunderstood, or shamed in your past. For many people, success is equal to visibility, and visibility is equal to vulnerability. That fear often sounds like, what if they found out that I'm not that good? What if they judge me? What if I succeed and still feel empty? What if I lose everything after I finally get it? So instead of facing those fears, your nervous system does what it's trained to do: it slams on the brakes. You skip the audition. You delete the post. You start editing yourself before anyone else can. But here's the truth: the more you hide, the louder the inner conflict gets. Because the soul wants to be seen, the shadow wants to stay safe. So your mind splits, and in that split, you sabotage. Healing this means learning how to be seen safely. Not by everyone, just by yourself first. Because when you see yourself fully and love what you see, the fear of being seen by others begins to fade. Imagine this: you finally get the thing you've been chasing: the job, the partner, the peace, and for a few days, maybe weeks, it feels incredible. You're riding high. And then, out of nowhere, You start picking fights. You oversleep. You get sick. You forget deadlines. You feel off. Why? Because you've hit your upper limit. This idea comes from Gay Hendricks' book, The Big Leap, and it's one of the most powerful and terrifying psychological truths. We all have an internal thermostat for how much success, love, and happiness we believe we are allowed to have. Go too far above that temperature, your subconscious brings you back down. Not because you're weak, because you've been conditioned to live in a certain level of emotional comfort, and exceeding it, even in a good way, triggers survival mode. Think of it like this: you grew up in a house that was always 60 degrees, cold but manageable. One day you walk into a place that's 80, warmth, ease, joy. At first, it feels amazing, but soon it feels wrong. Too warm, you sweat. You panic. You reach for the thermostat metaphorically and turn it back down. This shows up in real life like picking a fight right after a big win, sabotaging your relationship the moment it gets serious, getting sick or burnt out after reaching a new milestone, suddenly feeling like you don't deserve this. You might not even notice while you're doing it. You'll just call it bad timing or stress. But underneath it all, your subconscious is whispering, "This is more than we're used to. Better turn it down." That whisper doesn't care about your dreams. It only cares about keeping you in the range of what feels normal. And here's the thing: if pain, stress, or struggle were normal for you growing up, then peace and success won't feel safe. They'll feel suspicious. You'll sabotage not because you're afraid of losing it, but because you're afraid of what it means to keep it. That's the upper limit problem. And you can't break through it by working harder. You break it by expanding your nervous system's capacity for joy. By telling yourself repeatedly, "I am safe with this much good in my life," because you are. We all have one. That one internal voice. That one that whispers at 2 a.m. when you're about to do something big. The one that says, "Don't embarrass yourself. They'll hate you. You're not ready. Who do you think you are?" That's your inner saboteur. But here's the trick: it never wears just one face. Depending on your wounds, it shows up in different disguises. Let's meet a few of the most common ones. Number 1, the perfectionist. This saboteur believes if it's not perfect, it's not worth doing. You revise endlessly, you plan obsessively, and you never actually start. Because if you never start, you never have to fail. Beneath this mask is fear: fear of being judged, rejected, humiliated. Second, the procrastinator. This one tells you, "I'll do it later," but later never comes. Deadlines pass, opportunities vanish. You say you're waiting for the right time, but really you're avoiding the risk of being seen trying. Why? Because trying and failing is more painful than not trying at all. Number 3, the martyr. This saboteur tells you, "I have to help everyone else first." You give, you support, you fix. but your own dreams sit in the corner gathering dust. Because if you're always needed, you never have to face your own potential. Underneath, a fear that prioritizing yourself makes you selfish or unlovable. Fourth, the addict. This saboteur distracts you with dopamine, food, scrolling, sex, shopping, alcohol. Not to destroy you, but to numb the rising discomfort of change. Every time you get close to growth, this voice whispers, let's just check Instagram, let's just have one drink, let's rest a bit longer. Because numbing is easier than leaping. Fifth, the joker. This one makes everything a joke. You deflect with humor. You never go deep because depth feels dangerous. Vulnerability feels like a trap. So you laugh your way out of intimacy and opportunity. But behind the punchlines is a terrified child who's never been taken seriously. These saboteurs aren't evil, they're protectors. They were born in moments when you needed them, when it wasn't safe to be bold, visible, or real. But now, they are outdated. They're trying to protect you from a danger that doesn't exist anymore. And if you want to stop sabotaging, you don't kill the saboteur. You integrate it. You say, I see you. I know what you're trying to do. And I've got this now. That's how you shift. Not with violence, with compassion. The loop of shame, guilt, and collapse. Self-sabotage doesn't happen once. It loops. You try something new, you fail, or you quit early. Then comes the guilt. I should have done better. What's wrong with me? Why can't I just follow through? That guilt becomes shame. And shame doesn't whisper, it screams. I'm broken, I'm weak, I'll never change. And shame is the glue that keeps the loop going. Because when you're in shame, you're operating from low self worth. And low self worth says, I don't deserve success. I'm not meant for love. I'll mess it up anyway. So you sabotage again. Not because you're lazy, but because deep down you believe you're not allowed to have what you want. And here's the darkest part. The more you sabotage, the more evidence your mind collects. Evidence that says, see, you always screw it up. And every new attempt carries the weight of your past failures. That's why change feels heavy. Not because it's hard, but because your story says you've failed too many times to try again. But let me tell you something. That story is not fixed. It can be rewritten. And it starts not with discipline, but with compassion. Compassion breaks the shame loop. When you fail again, and you will try saying, I see why I did that. I know the pattern. But this time, I choose not to shame myself. Because the minute you remove shame, you give yourself the freedom to try again, clean. And that's how the loop finally ends. Let's talk about something many people overlook. The role of trauma when success feels unsafe. Trauma, not always the loud kind, abuse, neglect, war, but the quiet kind too. Being emotionally ignored, being pressured to perform, growing up in chaos where peace felt temporary or dangerous. Here's the thing. Trauma teaches your nervous system that certain emotional states like relaxation, joy, or success aren't safe. Because maybe the last time you felt good, something bad happened right after. So now, even years later, your body associates success with threat. Let me paint it clearly. You finally feel happy. Then your brain whispers, don't get too comfortable. You reach a goal, and your chest tightens like you're about to be punished. That's a trauma memory. Your body reliving the past as if it's a present. For trauma survivors, dysfunction feels normal. Being overwhelmed feels familiar. But peace? Peace feels suspicious. So you sabotage not to hurt yourself, but to return to a state your body understands. This is why so many people subconsciously create chaos. They pick unavailable partners. They procrastinate until panic sets in. They stir drama when things feel calm. Because calm wasn't safe growing up. Because success was linked to judgment, pressure, or loss. The key here isn't to stop sabotaging, it's to retrain your nervous system to believe I can be happy and safe at the same time. I can succeed and still belong. I can relax without being punished. And this takes time. It takes safety. It takes trauma informed healing. You don't beat trauma with hassle, you soothe it with presence. And from there, you rebuild. The power of self fulfilling prophecies. Let's say you believe, I always mess things up, or I'm not meant to be successful, or I'll never find love. Guess what your brain starts doing? Looking for proof. This is a confirmation bias, your subconscious scanning the world for evidence to support your beliefs. So, if you believe you're doomed to fail, you'll notice every mistake. You'll ignore your wins. You'll interpret rejection as proof you're unlovable. And you'll sabotage just to make the prophecy true. Why? Because our brains would rather be right than be happy. That's why we repeat the same painful stories. It's not just circumstance, it's identity. You've become the person who expects disappointment. And here's the twist. When life gives you something good, love, money, praise, you unconsciously feel like an imposter. Surely this can't be for me. This must be a fluke. They'll figure out the truth. And so you sabotage again, not because you hate yourself, but because the good doesn't match the story you've been telling yourself. And mind likes coherence. And if success doesn't fill your internal narrative, you'll either reject the success or change the narrative. Here's where things get powerful. You can rewrite the prophecy. It starts with awareness, then language. Try this. I'm learning to succeed without guilt. I can belong even when I win. Good things don't mean bad things are coming. These aren't empty affirmations, they're new neural pathways, new grooves for your mind to follow. And the more you walk them, the more real they become. Your story isn't fate, it's a draft. And you, my friend, are holding the pen. How to Heal the Saboteur, a practical guide. Now that we've explored the roots, let's talk healing. Self-sabotage is a symptom. The solution isn't work harder, it's look deeper. So, here are 5 steps to start shifting your inner dynamic gently, powerfully, permanently. Number 1, notice the moment you deviate. Every sabotage cycle starts the same. A subtle shift. You skip one day, you feel resistance, you get irritable. Track that. Start a sabotage journal. Write down, what were you working toward? When did resistance show up? What triggered it? Awareness is step 1. You can't heal what you refuse to look at. Second, talk to the saboteur. Literally, give the voice a name, an identity. My perfectionist part, my protector, my inner 6-year-old. Then ask it, what are you trying to protect me from? What are you afraid will happen if I succeed? Let it speak. Don't argue. Don't silence it. Just listen. And because most of the time the saboteur is scared, not evil. Third, reassure the fear. Once you hear the fear, validate it. Say, thank you for trying to keep me safe, but I've got this now. Things are different. I'm not a child anymore. I can handle success. I can handle joy. This might sound strange, even silly, but your subconscious responds to repetition and emotion, not logic. Speak to it like you would a scared child, because often that's exactly what it is. Fourth, expand your capacity for good. This is key. Start small. Breathe in joy. Sit with praise. Accept help. Allow yourself to feel good without sabotaging it. Try this simple practice. Whenever something good happens, pause. Put your hand on your heart. Say, I'm safe with this goodness. I can receive this. This trains your nervous system to handle more. More love, more money, more peace, without freaking out. Fifth, repeat slowly, kindly. Healing isn't linear. You'll slip, you'll spiral. But every time you pause instead of reacting, every time you talk to the saboteur instead of fighting it, you are rewiring. You're becoming a new version of yourself, not one that fights a shadow, but one who holds it and moves forward anyway. And that is the beginning of freedom. Because once you stop making yourself the enemy, once you stop seeing your sabotage as weakness, you can finally make peace with all parts of yourself. And from that peace, you rise. Reprogramming the subconscious mind. You can't just think your way out of sabotage, because sabotage doesn't come from your thinking brain. It comes from your subconscious, the emotional part, the protective part, the old part. So, if you want lasting change, you have to reprogram from inside out. Let's look at a few of the most effective ways. 1. Inner child work. The part of you that sabotages is often very young. It's a 5-year-old who learned love was conditional. The 10-year-old who got scolded for being ambitious. The 14-year-old who decided being average was safer than being seen. To heal this, close your eyes. Picture them. Sit with them. Ask, what were you afraid of? What do you need? What did no one give you that you now withhold from yourself? Then offer it. Safety, words, hugs, presence. It may sound strange, but neuroscience supports it. Visualization changes the brain. And the brain doesn't care whether it happened in real life. It cares about it's happening now. Second, hypnotherapy and repetition. Your subconscious learns through repetition and emotion. Affirmations don't work when you robotically chant them, but they do work when you speak them while feeling them daily. Try this. Record your own voice saying beliefs like, it's safe to succeed. Good things don't mean danger. I'm worthy even when I shine. Play it while you sleep. Let it sink in. This isn't magic. It's neuroplasticity. Third, EMDR and somatic therapy. For deeper trauma-based sabotage, you may need help. EMDR, eye movement desensitization and reprocessing, helps the brain unlink fear from memory. Somatic therapy helps your body process stored fight or flight energy. Because until your body believes it's safe to grow, your mind will keep pulling you back. Fourth, meditation and breath work. Every time you pause and breathe, you're training your nervous system to tolerate peace. Try this daily. Breathe in for 4 seconds. Hold for 4. Out for 6. And repeat for 5 minutes. Feel the safety build. The more your body trusts calm, the less it will crave chaos. You don't need to fight your sabotaging parts. You need to befriend them. That's how you reprogram. Not by force, but by showing them we are not in danger anymore. Real stories, real patterns. Let's make this real because you're still wondering, is it really sabotage or just life? So here are some real stories disguised for privacy, and you'll probably see yourself in one of them. Sophia, the relationship runner. Sophia kept ending relationships at the 3-month mark, always with a reason. They were too clingy, too distant, too nice. But when we looked deeper, we found the truth. Sophia grew up with conditional love. She was only praised when she excelled. Love was earned, never given freely. So when someone showed her unconditional affection, it felt alien, unsafe. So she left. Her sabotage wasn't fear of rejection. It was fear of acceptance. Joseph, the career collapse. Joseph was brilliant. Every time he got close to launching his business, something happened. He'd get sick, or start doubting, or get too busy. Turns out, Joseph's father failed in business and spiraled into depression. And Joseph's mind linked success with family pain. He believed, if I succeed, I'll betray my father. His sabotage was loyalty to someone who once lost everything. Asha, the perfectionist artist. Asha had a book she worked on for 7 years. She never shared it. She said it wasn't ready, that it needed one more edit. But the truth? She feared being seen, not the book being judged, her being judged. She wasn't protecting the work. She was protecting the little girl who once shared a poem and got laughed at. All of these stories point to the same truth. Self-sabotage is not weakness, it's a strategy. A strategy for survival that's become outdated. You don't need to fix yourself. You need to free yourself from the old stories you didn't write. You were never afraid of failure. Let me leave you with this. You were never afraid of failure. You were afraid of who you'd become if you didn't fail. Because success changes things. It demands new standards. It threatens your identity. It makes you visible, and worst of all, it proves your past excuses wrong. That's the terrifying part. Success forces you to face what you once called impossible. It challenges your comfort. It dares you to grow. But here's the secret. Your fear isn't a stop sign. It's a signal. A message from your future self saying, come, we've been waiting. The next version of you is ready. So stop fighting the fear. Start walking with it. Build rituals. Build trust. Build the emotional muscle to sit with joy and not flinch. To be seen and not shrink. To win and not collapse. Because you were never broken, just trained to believe smallness was safety. Now, you know better. You're allowed to outgrow the sabotage. You're allowed to succeed without guilt. You're allowed to stay when things get good. This isn't the end of your story. It's a chapter where you stop running from yourself. And when that happens, the rest of your life begins. If you've made it this far, it means you're not afraid to look in the mirror. And for that, I honor you. This journey wasn't easy. You peeled back layers most people avoid their whole lives. So, let this be your reminder. There's nothing wrong with you. You're not a quitter. You're not lazy. You're just someone who learned that success could hurt. And now, you are someone who's learning it can heal. Take this episode with you into your week. Re-listen when you slip, because you will. And when you do, don't shame yourself. Smile gently. Say, there you are, old pattern. But I choose differently now. That's how the story changes. One small, conscious midnight decision at a time. Thank you for listening. If this touched you, comment the word unlocked below. Let me know where you're listening from. Until next time, stay curious, stay kind, and keep walking into the light. Midnight Mind signing off.